The 10 most dangerous beaches in the world. The number 1 will surprise you. Which ones have you been to? Make sure to watch the full video, and these information might save your life. Beaches are all about relaxing, enjoying the views, and having a good time. Think clear blue waters, pristine white sand, and palm trees swaying gently in the year-round sun. Here at Deadly Planet, we're big beach lovers, but we felt obliged to provide a brief guide to some of the dangers lurking behind the beauty of these often popular places. Beaches can be dangerous places for a variety of reasons, from pollution to a higher likelihood of lightning strikes. Of course, the biggest danger is always drowning. And when you look at the numbers, you'll be surprised how often the same beaches pop up again and again. The main danger here is the strong waves, especially the rapids, which can pull unwary swimmers out to sea. On the other hand, despite the relatively small number of fatalities, the most terrifying danger on the beach is the creatures lurking under the waves. This can range from jellyfish and poisonous fish to huge crocodiles and sharks. In this video, we'll try to give a different perspective on the most dangerous beaches in the world, rather than just focusing on the stats. 10. Praia, north of Nazaré, Portugal. The photo in the video may offer a little clue as to why Nazaré in Portugal is on our list of dangerous beaches. In fact, you might have to look a little closer to spot the surfers. That's just one characteristic of huge waves. Nazaré is one of the oldest and most popular resorts on Portugal's Atlantic coast. Every summer, the beaches of the traditional fishing villages become Mecca for Portuguese family vacations. It's also home to some odd bathymetry with a deep ocean trench that leads from the deep water all the way to the seaside town. The effect of this is to funnel the already massive Atlantic waves directly onto the town's northern beach. When the waves hit the coast, they were huge. In fact, the largest waves exceeded 100 feet. Such waves can be deadly to the most experienced surfers with professional equipment, let alone the average beachgoer. While Nazaré's waves aren't always bigger than a house, they're often big enough to make all but the most experienced surfers feel dangerous. 9. Bikini Atoll, Marshall Islands, USA. On the positive side, the beautiful beaches of Bikini Atoll in the South Pacific are safer than they were 60 years ago. Back in the 1950s, this small island was the site of a series of nuclear tests carried out by the United States. This includes the Castle Bravo test, the largest test explosion ever conducted by the Americans. Particularly frightening is that the blast was nearly 3 times as powerful as scientists expected at the 15 megaton class, 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. To the researchers' surprise, a large amount of radioactive fallout contaminated the surrounding 7,000 square miles of the Pacific Ocean. Not only did this kill some of the crew of a nearby Japanese fishing boat and poison the crew on several nearby islands, it also made Bikini Atoll uninhabitable ever since. Today, tourism has brought the island back to some extent, and it has become a popular diving site with many shipwrecks and huge craters in the lagoon. However, tourists are strictly instructed not to eat or take anything with them on the island. It's believed that the fictional location of SpongeBob's house, Bikini Bottom, is actually Bikini Atoll. This will explain the strange storyline and characters to some extent. 8. Arnhem Land Beach, Northern Territory, Australia. As they used to say in Australia, if it moves, assume it will kill you. Nowhere is this truer than in the remote north, where all the usual threats plus the giant crocodile deadly jellyfish. Arnhem Land, especially the top end, is home to large numbers of saltwater and freshwater crocodiles. It's a real shame, as the many beaches here, such as Galaru and Bawaka, are absolutely stunning. Pearly white sand, azure blue waters, and swaying palm trees. However, it can be hard to relax even out of the water when you know the potential. If you are going into the water, which we advise you not to, there is always a risk of being stung by one of 2 dangerous jellyfish. The box jellyfish. Its 2-meter-long tentacles are loaded with thousands of venomous stingers that can at least deliver a painful sting. At worst, it will kill you, especially considering the remoteness of these beaches. The same goes for the Urukandji jellyfish, which may be more venomous. In addition, stings can lead to Urukandji syndrome, a condition that lasts for several days, one of which is the end is coming. Of course, all the other usual suspects can also be found here, including sharks, rockfish, and even blue-ringed octopuses. 7. Sheerness Beach, Kent, UK. Situated at the mouth of the Thames, Sheerness is a prime example of a somewhat faded English seaside town. You won't find palm trees or white sand on the beaches here, just pebbles and shingles sloping into the slightly murky estuarine waters. On the face of it, Sheerness's waterfront isn't anything special. There's no apparent danger or impending doom. But this is a town sitting on a ticking time bomb, quite literally. In August 1944, near the end of World War II, the American cargo ship Richard Montgomery SS ran aground on the North Sandbank, a mile near Sheerness. The ship was loaded with about 1,500 tons of high explosives in the form of various bombs. Some ammunition was initially recovered, but the vast majority remained on board, considered too dangerous to move, and became increasingly unstable over time. It is estimated that if the cargo exploded, it would be one of the largest non-nuclear explosions ever recorded. The Halifax explosion in Canada in 1917 gave people an idea of the carnage that such an event could have caused. About twice as many explosives exploded in the established port, killing 2,000 people and disappearing everything within half a mile. If Richard Montgomery's SS cargo exploded, the consequences would not have been as severe, but there have been suggestions of a small tsunami and structural damage to buildings in Sheerness. 6. Byron Bay, New South Wales, Australia. Byron Bay established itself as a hippie colony back in the 1970s. There's no doubt that this laid-back vibe remains, and with its beautiful, unspoiled beaches and coastline, Byron remains a staple of backpacking in Australia. This pristine stretch of water off the New South Wales coast forms the Cape Byron Marine Park, home to dolphins, rays, turtles, and even whales. Oh, did I mention sharks? Big sharks. Australia has the most deadly shark attacks in the world, so it seems logical that Australia's shark beaches must be on our list of dangerous beaches. Determining which beaches in Australia are the most dangerous is a bit tricky, despite potential candidates from New South Wales and Western Australia. There are differences though. New South Wales has twice as many attacks as Western Australia, but only a third of the fatalities. However, a quick glance at the data reveals that both candidates have died in 2 shark-related incidents in the past 20 years, Cottesloe Beach in Perth and Byron Bay. Given that Byron has been attacked 3 times as many times as Australia's shark population, this is clearly the most dangerous beach in Australia. 5. Guerrero, Acapulco, Mexico. Acapulco was once the most iconic vacation destination in Mexico. Think spring break, cliff divers, golden sand, and year-round sunshine. While all of this is still here, Acapulco's reputation as a vacation destination now has to compete with its darker reputation, the second-place finisher for the murder capital of the world. In recent years, the state of Guerrero, and Acapulco in particular, has become a battleground for vicious turf wars between rival drug cartels. Only Caracas, Venezuela, now surpasses the city's murder rate, which saw a staggering 2,316 murders last year. In the U.S. State Department's travel advisories, Acapulco was given a danger rating comparable to Afghanistan and Syria. They say violent crimes, such as homicides, kidnappings, carjackings, and robberies, are very common. That said, Acapulco remains a resort. There's no denying that numbers have dropped a lot, but many Americans are still here and more Mexican vacationers are visiting. The advice seems to be to stay in tourist areas. 4. Playa de Boa Viagem, Recife, Brazil. Boa Viagem is a high-end beachfront area in the northern Brazilian city of Recife. Here, you'll find golden sands lined with palm trees, with shiny new high-rises behind them. Cafes and bars are always bustling, and the beach itself is a hub of activity. Now imagine, it's hot, the sun is out, and there are lovely little waves lapping on the beach, but no one is deeper than their knees. Look closely and you'll see why. More than 100 signs on the beach warn swimmers and keep surfers out of the water. Here's why. Boa Viagem is home to one of the highest shark attacks in the world. More than 60 attacks have been reported on this stretch of coast since 1992, 24 of which were fatal. The strange thing about Recife Beach is that, until the 1990s, there were few raids. The sudden increase in numbers is believed to be due to the development of the nearby port of Suape, which involves the diversion of several rivers. One theory is that this stopped the bull sharks from entering the river, leading them to the shores of Recife Beach. 3. Reunion Island. The idyllic tropical island of Reunion is a French possession in the Indian Ocean. The interior of the rainforest is covered with volcanic peaks, coral reef shorelines, and pristine white sand that should be every beach lover's last wish. But beneath the usually perfect waves there is a deadly threat. There is a lot of hysteria and sensationalism about shark attacks, and the actual threat is minimal. In most places on the planet known for being a bit of a shark, people tend to keep going. Swimmers are still swimming, surfers are still surfing, divers are still diving. That's not the case with Reunion. For an island with a healthy tourism industry, banning swimming and surfing from most beaches is quite a drastic step due to the high number of attacks. There have been more than 20 shark attacks here since 2011, 8 of which were fatal. In 2017, Reunion accounted for almost half of the world's fatal attacks, earning it the title of Shark Attack Capital of the World. 2. North Sentinel Island, Andaman Islands. The Andaman Islands are located on the other side of the Bay of Bengal in the Indian Ocean. This chain of 300 islands is home to a tropical rainforest fringed by palm-lined white sand beaches and coral reefs. Their isolated location makes them a little off the beaten track, especially for some of the more remote islands. North Sentinel Island is one of these remote islands that has all but escaped the modern world. But the island, about the size of Manhattan, is not uninhabited. It is home to the Sentinel tribe, possibly the most isolated and dangerous tribe on Earth. Little is known about Sentinels, including how many there are. Estimates range from 15 to 500. It is well known that their way of life seems to have not changed much since the Stone Age, and they do not like tourists. There have been many attempts to engage with the tribe over the years, but almost all of them end in shooting an arrow at the tourists. The last visitors to North Sentinel Island were 2 fishermen who poached mud crabs in 2006. It is thought that the men fell into a drunken sleep when the boat was moored, but drifted to shore where they were attacked and killed. When the Indian Coast Guard sent helicopters to search for the bodies, the tribe responded by shooting arrows at them. Of course, there are plenty of other beautiful beaches in the Andaman Islands that don't result in a high chance of dying, but few can claim to be unspoiled. 1. Hanakapi Beach. Beautiful and secluded Hanakapi Beach is located on Kauai's Nepali coast. However, if you do make the long trek through the woods along the Kalalau Trail, you'll see a warning sign recording the number of people who have died here. There are currently more than 80 people. Due to a combination of factors, Hanakapi Beach seems to be one of the most dangerous places on Earth. First, there are no lifeguards here, and probably no one else to help, but that doesn't explain the staggering number of drownings here. Unlike most of Hawaii's coastline, there are no offshore reefs to hide from the force of the ocean. But the rapids are the killer here. These invisible currents are formed by water that waves push toward the beach and back out to the sea. They run so fast that it is almost impossible to swim past. Also, anyone unfortunate enough to be trapped in the rift would not find anywhere to swim a few miles ashore, as the rift would pull them westward. Please make sure to stay away from these beaches or pay extra attention when you decide to travel there. So did you enjoy watching the video? Have you been to any of these beaches? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button below the video and click subscribe to stay on the top of our amazing stories